Allora, sono molto fiero e anche orgoglioso di avere qui all'Hot Corner oggi un chitarrista, un compositore, uno dei migliori al mondo, Bryce Dessner. Bryce, how are you?
Good, and you? Yeah,
Thank you
nice to
very
see
much
you.
for being here at the Hot Corner. So, you are here in Rome at the film festival for the soundtrack of Cyrano by Joe Wright.
Yeah.
So, how did you come on board on the project? It's your
Um,
first time with Joe Wright, right?
yeah, first time with Joe Wright, and actually the project began on in the theater. We had Peter Dinklage, who plays Cyrano.
Yeah.
His wife, named Erica Schmidt, wrote the screenplay for the film, and before she did the film, she developed a version that we did on the stage in the theater. And she asked us, she had this idea she wanted to do Cyrano with songs, and so she was chasing us for like 4 years, asking us to do this, and we didn't think it was a good idea at first, and then finally she convinced us, and it was an amazing experience. So we wrote the songs kind of over 3 or 4 years
Okay.
from the theater and then into the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you work with Joe Wright? Because Joe Wright is very careful about soundtrack, no? From Atonement to
Yeah,
the Darkest Hour.
he loves music, so he's a great collaborator. And the amazing thing for me is I was there on set, so I was working. We worked a lot before because it's a film shot around the songs. We had to really work on the music with him prior to them shooting the film. So
Yeah.
they. I think there's 12 or 13 songs, so it's more than half
It's
the
like
film.
an album.
Yeah. But then I was there, and so we would stay up night after they were working the day, and we would work on arrangements, and I did all the orchestration, and so he was very involved in kind of thinking through that. But he's very fun. It's not a hard. Sometimes film directors can be tricky, and Joe's actually quite inspiring. He gets really excited. He's like a little boy.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
And what about Haley Bennett? Because she sings a song and she's great in the music.
Yeah, Haley Bennett, she played Roxanne in the
Yeah.
stage version of the first version that we did of this, in a like off Broadway in rural Connecticut in a very small place where no one could come.
It's like off.
We were like, okay, we'll try it, but it has to be way off Broadway. Yeah, and Haley played Roxanne, and she's a really talented actress. Has like tons of emotion in what she does, and grew up singing as well. So she's has a beautiful voice, almost like a classic Hollywood voice in a way, like a kind of pure tone. And I guess the interesting thing about this film, in terms of music, is that it's all sung live actually, and it's quite difficult to do that. So all the actors are singing live, which is like the National, we could never pull that off. It would be too hard.
And basically, you have two careers because you have national and as a composer. It's more difficult to compose music for soundtrack, or it's easier to work with Matt and the other.
I think the thing that is very similar to composing in film and composing with the band is that they're big collaborative projects. You really have to understand other people's ideas and listen and not be too caught up in your own ego. And I think that after 20 years of playing in a band, it's actually very helpful to have that experience of being not always thinking that you're the best thing in the room. So because in film you have to be humble about, you can have a great idea, but if it doesn't work with the narrative or the scene, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. So, but it's difficult to, you compose a soundtrack, then you go to the movie theater or the first of the movie, and you discover that the director on the editing, they cut your music. What's your reaction?
I don't think I've ever been involved in a film where something didn't change at the last minute. I will say that I worked with Alejandro González Inarritu on The Revenant, and I did, a bunch of that score with Ryuichi Sakamoto and Avanoto, and that time nothing changed. Everything I recorded was in the movie. Yeah, that was very encouraging, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, what kind of relationship do we have with Italy and with Italian composer? Here we have a great tradition for Italian composer, not only Morricone, but Umiliani, Piccioni, Lavagnino. Tons of composers.
I think Italy is. I would go further. I would talk about like a composer like Luciano Berio.
Luciano Berio, yeah.
Or Morricone. The Italian. Or I go way further back in Monteverde and Gesualdo. It's so rich in musical history here, and also the Fellini films like that. The music. I would say that there's something because Cyrano was shot in Sicily in Noto.
Noto.
Yeah. So I was listening to Nino Rota, for instance, or so there's a little bit of that kind of almost fanfare, like the film opens in this incredible kind of in a theater, actually, it's like a kind of play within the play or a play within the film, and so there's a kind of a mood about it that I think in those films is really inspiring. And there's some Italian musicians actually in the film as well, that are some musicians actually playing. So it's very inspiring to work here, and it's the second film that I've been able to work on in Italy. The other was The Two Popes by Fernando Meirelles. That was shot in Rome, actually. So,
Who's your favorite composer ever? Your personal Jesus?
My favorite composer ever. I think probably I would have to say Stravinsky, and I could say that just because there's so many things about his music that were so radical, but also and intellectual, but then very physical. His most famous pieces are ballets. I think I don't know if Stravinsky ever wrote film music, but he would have written great film music, I think. He was also very influenced by folk music. People always ask me, how do you write classical music and play in a band? It's like, well, it's not a very new idea. Someone like Stravinsky was very influenced by the folk music from Russia and from other places, and even by jazz, when he was in New York, I think. Stravinsky as a composer is very, very inspiring. Yeah.
And what kind of movies do you like? What kind of type of genre of movies you like to watch when you're at home or in theater?
I think, there's the Italian director Luca Guadagnino, who I saw his recent, I don't know how you say it in Italian, but The Hand of God. I got to see it at the Tagliari Film Festival, and he is one of my...
Paolo Sorrentino would say The Hand of God.
Sorry,
Okay. Yeah.
Sorrentino, not Luca Guadagnino. Yeah, I was thinking about my friend Sufjan Stevens, who worked on Call You By Your Name, but Guadagnino, that film, but also Sorrentino.
You watched The Hand of God, the last movie?
Yeah, Hand of God. So you have to edit that. I think we love watching new movies by people like Paul Thomas Anderson. I think is one of the great directors. Barry Jenkins, films like Moonlight are like, he's one of the greatest directors working today. His sort of series adaptation of the Underground Railroad is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But I also love older films. Like there's a film Le Mépris of Godard, which also has incredible music by Georges Delerue.
Do you know that in Italy they added the soundtrack? They cut off the soundtrack of Georges Delerue, and they put the Piero Piccioni, and it's like 2 movies.
Oh wow!
It's unbelievable. It's horrible because this, it's like the version of Georges Delerue is incredible, amazing, and the Piero Piccioni is like very lounge-esque. It's
amazing.
So my last question is, if you have to choose a director you want to work with,
I'm lucky in that I've already worked, I would say, working with Joe Wright, or working with Inarritu, or working with Fernando Meirelles, working with Mike Mills. There's a new film by Mike Mills, C'mon, that's also at the film festival. Yeah. I'm very, very lucky that I've worked with some of the great artists, and what else? I would, working with, a kind of young filmmaker would also, I love working with up and coming filmmakers as well. I don't sort of believe. I recently met Sam Mendes. I would love to work with him.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bryce Dessner.
Thank you.
Grazie mille.
Thank you.